this lesson, we're going to review the round, round up, and round down formulas. The round function is used to round numbers to the nearest whole number or decimal, depending on your preference. The three formulas that we have here allow you to round either up, down, or to the nearest whole number or decimal, depending on which formula you decide to use. Let's take a look at the formula in greater detail. The formula is made up of a number syntax and a number digits syntax. The number syntax is the number that you want to round, so you would click on the cell that you want to be rounded. And the num digits part of the syntax is the number of digits to which you want to round the number. If you look at rows 23 through 25, you can see the round, round up, and round down formulas with their syntax. So the round formula starts with equals round, open parentheses, and then number, which is the cell upon which you'd like to round, and then comma, and then num digits, i.e. the number of digits that you'd like to round. The round up formula and round down formulas are the exact same, except they have a different prefix for the formula, i.e. round up or round down. Let's take a look at an example. In our example, the University of Waterloo is reviewing student admissions into its undergraduate program based on high school grades for students who had applied. Their IT system does not accept decimals. They would like to round the grades to the nearest dollar. Additionally, the school board is contemplating changing its policy to round down or round up the grades and wants to know whether the average will be affected overall if they change the policy. So in our solution, using the round, round up, and round down formula, the analyst at the university can calculate the rounded numbers using the original database of average grades as the source. The results are in the below table. So let's take a look at the below table. We have the subject in column C, we've got the average grades in column D, and we apply the round, round up, and round down formulas in columns E through G. So let's take a look at how each of those formulas work, starting with round in cell E30. If we open up cell E30, we're just using round, open parentheses, clicking on the cell reference, which is D30 beside it. And then for number of digits, in this case, we chose 0 because we want to round it to the nearest decimal place. If we press enter, it takes the number to 90, which is rounding 89.5 up to 90. In row 31, it takes 69.1 and rounds it to 69 because that's the nearest whole number. For the round up formula, we just use equals round up, open parentheses, and then reference cell D30, comma 0, and that rounds the number in cell D30 up to the nearest whole number, which is 90. Similarly, for row 31 in cell F31, it rounds 69 up to the nearest whole number, which is 70, and so on. For the round down formula, we use equals round down, open parentheses, and then reference cell D30 within cell G30, and then we put comma 0 to round to the nearest whole number. And when we press enter, it rounds 89.5 down. In cell G31, it rounds 69.1 down to 69, and so on. So that's essentially how you use the round, round up, and round down formula when you want to round to the nearest whole number. Again, you just put in 0 as the number digits part of the syntax in order to round to the nearest whole number. Let's take a look at one more example. In example 2, the data scientist at Google is often analyzing the cost per click data and conversion rates across the world. The data scientist often needs to round decimals to the nearest 1 decimal point, 2 decimal points, nearest 100 or 1,000. It would be very helpful if there was a cheat sheet of rounding formula in Excel to reference to in order to complete this task depending on the requirement. In our solution, the data scientist created the below cheat sheet as a reference on the rounding formula. So starting in rows 53 through 63, we can see the formula in order to round to the nearest dollar, the nearest 1 decimal place, the nearest 2 decimal places, round up to the nearest dollar, down to the nearest dollar, round to the nearest 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, and million. And so the formula for each of these is contained within column G. So starting in cell D53, we see round, open parentheses, reference cell 0. So if you wanted to round the example of raw data within E53, we can do that in cell F53 by referencing cell E53 within the round formula and then comma 0. That rounds to the nearest whole number. So in this case, it's going to round to $1,001. In the next example, if we run around to the nearest one decimal place, we're going to use equals round, reference cell E54, and then put in comma 1, and that'll round to the nearest one decimal place. In this case, the nearest one decimal place is 0.7, so the solution is 100.7. In the third example, we want to round to the nearest two decimal places. So instead of having a cell show 100.669, as it does in cell E55, we want to round E55 to two decimal places, so we're putting in comma 2. If we press enter, it's going to round to 100.67, which is two decimal places. In the fourth example, we want to round to the nearest dollar. So we're going to use round up because we want to round up to the nearest dollar. So we're going to use the round up formula equals cell E56 and comma 0. That takes us to 1001. If we want to round down to the nearest dollar, it's very similar. We're going to use equals round down, put in the reference cell, in this case E57, comma 0, and that brings us to the nearest dollar, which is $1,000. In the next example, we want to round to the nearest $10. Now, if we want to round to the nearest $10, we actually want to use round, open parentheses, and then reference the cell, which is, in this case, the cell beside it, so E58. And if we want to reference the nearest $10, we're going to put in -1. So we do that, and it's going to round to the nearest $10, which is $223,000, $440. So it's rounding the 36 up to 40 because that's the nearest $10. Similarly, if we want to round to the nearest $100, we're going to put in -2 in the num digits part of the formula, and we do that in cell F59, and as a result, the formula gets rounded to $223,400. And you can get the idea. As we add an extra digit, we increase the digits in the formula. So for the nearest 1,000, we're going to use -3. The nearest 10,000, we're going to use -4. The nearest 100,000, we're going to use -5. And the nearest million, we're going to use -6. So let's take a look at one more example here. Cell E63, it's $1.2 million. If we want to round it to the nearest million, we're going to use -6 in the num digits part of the formula syntax. So if I open up cell F63, I can see that the formula is equal to round, open parentheses, reference cell. So I'm referencing the cell that I want to round, which is E63, putting in a comma, and -6 to round to the nearest $1 million. If I press enter, it's going to round it to $1 million because that is closer than $2 million. So this is a great cheat sheet contained within cells D53 through D63 of all of the different types of rounding, or at least a lot of the different types of rounding to the nearest digits, tens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundred thousands, and millions of dollars. Hey guys, thanks for watching this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe from you. And if you want to learn more about Microsoft Excel, check out these videos above. And don't forget to check out our website, commercecurve.com, where we have lots of in-depth finance and accounting courses available with full training workbooks. All of our courses come with complete workbooks of lessons, examples, pre-built financial models, and training video. Hope to see you there.